February edition is titled Love in Business. Quite interesting, not so? I'll not be alone today. I'll be joined by two renowned business persons that are going to join me up here when we do the panel discussion. But before I go further, just to give you a quick brief of what this evening is going to have. We are going to have some welcoming remarks from the MD, and after the welcoming remarks from the MD, we're just going to have a few minutes to just talk amongst ourselves, because the idea of Bants2Business is young people talking to each other, young entrepreneurs talking and sharing experiences. And after that, we're going to have, I'm going to call it an expert panel, because we're going to have two people that are going to join me on set that are going to share a couple of lessons that they've learned along the entrepreneurship journey in line with the theme for today. And then we're going to do some networking, and we're going to get to know each other. And there's a raffle drill, so someone might get lucky tonight. I mean lucky by getting a raffle prize, not the type of lucky you're thinking. We all need to be here. That was a joke. Laugh. Life is too short to be angry. This is Bants2Business. We're supposed to be having fun. It's not very serious, much as we all look nice and we're at a lovely venue. But the idea is so that we are able to talk freely amongst ourselves. I love the sound of my own voice, but at this juncture, I'd like to call Miss Tanda Lizzie Mandui to come and do the opening remarks. Thank you.
Welcome to the fourth, I believe this is the fourth edition of Bants2Business. We're delighted to have you. Just wanted to make a few remarks, a few changes to the program first of all, but maybe before I get to that, let me just introduce you to Bants2Business. So Bants2Business was created by the Entire Foundation as a platform for young people to be able to network and just interact with each other about things that affect all of us as young entrepreneurs, so hence the name Bants and Business. So we get to banter, just chat about things that affect us very casually, and also talk about real business issues and learn from business leaders as we'll do today. So this event was supposed to be, or the facilitator first was supposed to be Pepperon Pande. Because he is very busy with other things, he changed and will not be able to make it today, but hopefully we'll be able to engage him at a later date. So that's a big change. Another thing is also Priscilla Kaira was supposed to host. She also will not be joining us, but hopefully will be joining us in the near future. So it's a pretty casual space. I want you guys to feel free. The main reason and what makes Bants2Business different is that we want to have very candid conversations. So it's not a panel session. It's not about the people who are going to be sitting up here. It's about all of us and a chance for every one of us to be able to speak and contribute. So hopefully you're able to bring your voice to this conversation and you're able to say things that matter and are pressing to you as well.
A round of applause. I'd like us to do something that we normally don't do. Right here, maybe because our culture makes it sound like if you do it for yourself, you're being bogus. But I'd like you to stand, I'd like you to stand, can we please stand? Yeah, please stand. Please stand, please stand, please stand. I'd like you to give yourself the biggest standing ovation you've ever given yourself in your life, because you're doing great. I mean, you're here, it means you're doing great, you're breathing, at least we can celebrate that. Can we give ourselves a round of applause? The biggest you can have. I want us to do is, I want you to tell your neighbor and say congratulations. Congratulations, congratulate them. It's not easy being an entrepreneur. And one of the things that Bants2Business has given us is it's given us that platform to come here and celebrate each other and celebrate even the smallest of wins. There are certain spaces where if I walked in, no one knows my name. They wouldn't want to listen to what I have to say. Maybe because my business is not as big, my brand is not as big. But guess what? Here at Bants2Business, you are important to us. You matter and we think you're worth celebrating. So before you sit, please clap for yourself, then let us see. Yeah. As I said, I'll be joined by two people that are going to join me on set today. I always run out of words when I have to call up the person I'm going to call up first. Firstly, because her name is difficult to pronounce. But today I'm gonna get it right. The first person who's gonna be joining me on set today is Mrs. Ngawaila Chatata. I got that right, yes? A round of of applause, I got her name right. Yes, Nawaila is an agri-entrepreneur and she currently owns and manages Bants2 Farms. I won't talk a lot about her business and I'll leave her to talk about her business herself. The next person that's going to be joining me is a young man. For those of you that know him and for those of you that might have heard about him on social media, he goes by the name Mr. Trevor Chick Scandal J, aka Mr. Tiatrov, and I'll also leave him to talk about his business himself. Please give him a round of applause. Very young, very young. In this month of love, well, maybe. Well, thank you very much for joining us, guys. It's a pleasure to have you here, and we're honored and excited to have you here. But before we go into the panel, and before I let you talk about what you do and about yourself, I've got a few questions I'd like to ask the audience. Because Bants2Business is all about interaction. How many of us here are in a relationship? Relationship, how many of us? A hand? By a show of hand? Hey, it's tough out here. Okay, how many of us are in some sort of entanglement? Yes, I said relationship. How many here are in a relationship? Unless Bruce, you're in a relationship. Ooh, 4 people are in a relationship. Entanglement. Mahopu sheep. Somebody likes you sheep. You are in the relationship yourself, but the other one. So we are at least in one sort of sheep in one way or the other. Okay, tell me the friendship. Yeah, friendship. How long have you been friend-zoned for a while? But okay, guys, I've got a simple question for you. How many of you would you know, venture into the business with your partner? How many of you? Bruce, with the first one, maybe let me hear from you. Bruce, would you do a business with your partner?
Don't trap me.
It's just Bants2Business. Don't take the answers too serious.
I think I would.
Okay, and why is that?
Because the thing is, if I start a business, obviously if I'm in a relationship, I'm always serious. We're going to get married eventually. It will be our business eventually. So, yeah, I would. I think it's bound to happen like that.
So for you, it's about building up for the future.
Yes.
So it's definitely someone you trust, someone you can venture into a business and trust your money with, and make money together for the long run.
Yes.
How many people would not get into a business with their partner? Am I the only one? Oh, okay. No. For me, it's because my area of business and I think my partner's area of business are too different. So I'm not about to bring the wrong expertise in my business. So it's also okay not to venture into a business with your partner in case you thought that was a trap and that you're going to be a bad person. Okay, now the last question before I go into my panel discussion. Do you think it's important for you to venture into a business with somebody who you're in a relationship or some sort of ship with? You had your hand raised up. Yes. Why do you think it's important? Say if you're courting someone or if you're married to someone, why do you think it will be important for you to be able to do business with that person?
Well, like you already said, if we have the same business goals, why not? Because we're achieving the same thing. So I would go because of that.
So she says it's because of that they would be trying to achieve the same thing. PJ?
I think that both business and romantic relationships are about trust. So I think that if you trust somebody who you're in a relationship with, it's easy to build that bond of trust in a business. Of course, it's also complicated because when you argue at home, you also argue at work. But I'm sure that, you know, if two people love each other and if they have the right business sense, they can make it work.
I love the word that you used. You said trust. And you know, trust is very important in business. If we're going to make money together, I should be able to trust you. You should be able to trust what I'm bringing to the table, and I should also be able to trust what you're bringing to the table, which is also the core basis of every relationship. And you know, one of the things that I love that is unique about the theme is business is a relationship. And you can't have a relationship without some sort of love. It's either I love your products, that's why I'm in business with you, or you like my services, or I love your money, you give me good money. Let's not pretend, we all love money. Who doesn't want money here? Aren't we all in business for money? Yeah, that's why I'm in business. We said it's Bants, so you can say yes, you can laugh, you can joke, it's okay. You know, it's not like we're on opera. Or maybe Pa should stand here with a sign that says clap. And you can laugh now. Anyways, enough about me. Thank you very much, guys, for making time to be part of this very important discussion. I know we call them bants and they're just banter, but I also appreciate the fact that from these bants and from this banter, a lot of us leave this room with so many lessons that we've learned across various platforms. This is our third edition, by the way. We had the first edition we had 2 editions last year. We had the Women in Business, and then we had the first Bants2Business. I think moving forward, I think Tanda might later on say in her closing remarks the plans with the brand. So for those of you who are attending for the first time, this is the 3rd edition. This is the 4th actually that we've had. Apologies. So without much further ado, Mrs. Jadata, please introduce yourself and what is it exactly that you do? What is Tatwe Farms? She looks lovely, by the way, doesn't she? The lady in red.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. My name is Jadata. I was very excited that you pronounced my name right. I rarely get my name pronounced right. But anyway, for obvious reasons, the way it's written and the way it's pronounced are 2 different things. I am a co-founder of Tatwe Farm. That means there's someone else. When we say co, there are 2 people. My business partner is my husband. So for me, it's straight. You are in. You say no. For me, I'm a pro. You need to work with your husband or your wife. It makes things easy and it makes things move fast. I'll share more as we talk. But what does Tatwe do? Our vision is a Malawi that is able to grow and export high-value agricultural products. And from a farm that we started in 2010, of course, in terms of purchasing land, we started around 2004. So it's been a vision that we've been pursuing together for some time. And then we rolled out in 2012, 2013, got registered as a farm. From the small farm that was a quarter acre, now we have a thriving agribusiness that is manufacturing greenhouses. We have a factory that's working to manufacture the greenhouses, and we also have a factory that is processing hibiscus and other herbals into products such as juice, teas. We have tea bags, and then charms, and the spices. And also we run an incubation program. So young people and women are at the center of my heart. My life purpose is to inspire the youth and women to look at agribusiness as a viable career path. So with that, we are incubating young people and holding them to set up viable agribusinesses. So far, we've reached out about 300. So yeah, that's me. My husband is a computer scientist. I am a social scientist. But that's what gives us strength, because our strengths are different and our weaknesses are different. So we know where to cover each other and we know where to handhold. So that's it. For me, I love the topic, love and business, because that's what I'm living. Thank you.
A round of applause. I love how she ends. She says, love and business.
Yeah.
That's what I'm living. The rest of us. Well, Trevor, can you please tell us what it is exactly that you do, and can you please tell us a little bit about yourself? We'd like to get to know you.
All right. Yeah, I think everyone can hear me. My name is Trevor Kandoje. I know you included the tricks at the beginning, but that's when I was younger. Yes, when I used to do music, I was called Trevor Tricks, but now I solely like being called Trevor Kandoje in professional settings. I'm the founder and managing director of a company called Tightrope, which I think I should explain that the name might be misleading for when I tell or explain what we do in full at this moment in time. But I think I can start with explaining why it was called Tightrope. At the beginning of my entrepreneurship journey with this company, I was only supplying tires. That's what my main business was, supplying tires. But at this moment in time, when I say we, it's because a lot of people I'm working with now. We've managed to grow. So we're basically a fully functioning workshop. So what that means is we do everything that's car related at this moment in time. If you're looking for panel beating and painting, we do that. If you're looking for mechanical services, we're doing that as well. Are you looking for air conditioner services? We do that as well. If you want car accessories, we do that as well. By accessories, I mean lights, nuts, bars, everything. So basically, the workshop is creating what I'd like to call convenience for you. If you come to the workshop, whatever it is that you may need on your car, we provide that. And I think that's all I have to say about the business so far. And yeah, she's a co-founder. I don't know if it's fortunate or unfortunate. I was single when I started the business, so right now, currently I'm running it alone. I just recently got engaged, so obviously in the future, my wife-to-be is going to be involved in some way or the other. I think there we can, talk, but she also does a business. She also has her own businesses, so I think we'll see where we can help each other in the future, I guess. But for now, it's just me in the business and us outside of the business. Yes. Thank you very much.
Congratulations on your engagement. Obviously, one of the things that we've picked up from both of what two of you were saying is that growth takes time. Ngawa, you spoke of the years, how you started and, getting where you are today. And one of the things that I love is you spoke about your relationship with your husband, Mr. Zibo Jata. I did my research, guys. Round of applause. I did my research. So how does your personal life in regards to relationships affect your entrepreneurship journey so far? And what have been some of the positive lessons? What have been some of the negative experiences?
Yeah, as I've put it, I'm working with my husband. So basically, we have influenced each other so much, such that we can't talk of Chantwe without talking of Zico and now. So when we started out our relationship and our marriage, we were having conversations. I think for us, the most important thing is that we're two people that are able to have a conversation, even a debate, where I'm able to say, no, I don't agree. And he's also able to say, I think I don't agree. It's not like because he's my husband or because I am the wife, when I say, let's do things this way, then that's how it's going to go. We have allowed our intellectual capacities to step in. And we also have this confidence of what I'm capable of doing and what he's capable of doing. And we have, over the years, we've learned each other's strengths in such a way that in the business, as we manage the business, there are situations that I can actually say, opt out and say, this situation, I'm not going to show up. Please handle it. And there's also been situations where you say, there's this client, you are the best person to handle them, because if I go there, we're going to lose the client. So it's an issue of realizing that you are teammates. And teammates means some are strikers, some are defenders. You don't get a defender to go and be scoring. They're just going to be kicking the ball in the wrong side. So that, for me, that's how our relationship has worked. As I said, he's a computer scientist, very logical. As social scientists, we work with chaos, literally. Because if you're going to go in the community where you haven't been and start to influence them, you have to be somebody who is able, who has this faith and who doesn't look at logic. Because you're going to be asking people questions, and that what they're going to be telling you is, this is impossible, and yet you have a vision to achieve in that space and be able to motivate everyone to start to see what you see. So that's, for us, that relationship is what helps us, because sometimes when I realize that in my chaotic world, things are not making sense somehow, I ask his opinion, and that helps me to see another picture. It's like he lives in another window, I'm in another window. But then in a way that we are able to harness that for the goodness of the business.
Wow, that was very deep. And I think one of the biggest takeaways from that is the ability to say no. I think most of us as young entrepreneurs, especially if you're in a relationship, one of the hardest things to tell someone you love is a no-go. You know, they want to go on a date, but you've got a proposal. You've got something you need to say to a client, and you're thinking that my partner is going to be upset. So at times we make those compromises where we've missed deadlines, we've done substandard work because simply I just can't tell my partner no. At times we've even gone into certain decisions simply because they came from your partner, but you knew that this does not make business sense. So one of the things I think that's a big takeaway is the ability to say no. And the second thing that you spoke, which I think was also very rich, is in terms of trusting your partner to say, I am not competent enough in this area. I do not know it all. I trust you to be able to handle this, and that the result you're going to get is good for both of us. And even trusting that partner with that result. Now I want to ask you just a funny scenario. Has it ever happened that you were right, but you trusted him and he got it wrong? For those of us that are doubting Thomases.
Of course. Just today.
Oh, wow.
We went out. We are installing greenhouses somewhere in Atengi. So then the Lord was sleeping. Then I said, he was the one who started to say, oh, the roads are slippery here. He said, okay, yeah, he was driving. So he says, it's here and there. So there was a bridge in between. So I said, okay. Then when we crossed the bridge, I said, do you think we have to continue to proceed? And my two sons were also there. And he says, I'm going to drive slowly. I'm going to drive slowly. But I was convinced we're not supposed to move on. Then I said, are you sure we have to go? And he knew that my questioning was, let's go back. Then he continued because he had this training. So I just kept quiet. And then we went and get stuck. Then I just kept quiet. Because in that moment, the mistake we made is the statement, I told you. Now, the issue is, even if you said no, when your partner decides to move on, you don't hit them just in the middle of the mess. When you're in a mess, you're in it together. So we then got people to take us out, and then when we were out, I said again, because we were out in our face, so I said, don't move on, let's go back. And then he said, he is agreed immediately. And then we went back, and then we just offloaded whatever we thought we were supposed to drop, and the boys that are working on the project came and picked. So when we were coming out, we ended down my road, I said, at that time, I'm sure you traded my, I told you. And the boys started laughing, but then we just made fun of it. But he said, oh, of course I remembered what you said, like that. So next time when I say something, just do as I say. He said, oh, yes, madam, that's what I'm going to do next time. Yeah.
He's a very secure man. He said, yes, madam. In that moment, yes, madam. I love the fact that you said if you're with your partner and you're running a business together and you are in a mess, you are in that mess together. And I think most of us kind of forget that, and we say, no, it is your fault, so you need to fix it. You forget the business belongs to two people. Trevor, your story is quite different from Ngawa, because with Ngawa, they had been together, they dated, they were married. I'm sure they had even spoken about doing business together. Now, what's there to talk about in a relationship if you're not talking about the bigger things you're going to do together? But now for you, here you were, you start a business, and then as you're running that business, you get engaged. And you said she also runs her own business. How has it been for you, or how can young entrepreneurs separate their business from their personal lives? And how are you guys doing it? Is it possible at all?
So the thing about starting a business and growing the business means the business most of the time consumes all of your time. The business is, you are the business. whether or not you can agree with that, but the truth is that if you want the business to be successful, you have to put everything that you have into the business. I can give an example that generally when I'm having conversations with people, it's that you can either do education or you can do school. I mean, you can do business, but you can't do both. Reason being, for both of those things, in order to achieve or to get to the highest level, you need to give everything that you have to give. So if you're going to have to pursue education, you give your all, you leave relationships, you travel, X, Y, Z. If you're going to do business, you have to give your all as well. I can give an example with Tara over there. We've talked a couple of times over the years about how there's no boundaries at times between the personal life and the business life, because when people see me, they see title. So I can be having lunch somewhere with my fiance, and somebody will come up to me and they'll say, hey, how much are your tires? Or how much is XYZ? Now, I can't say, hey, sorry my man, I'm having lunch. I'm going to have to be able to talk to that person, because when they see me, they see title. So in that regard, I'd say it's kind of hard to separate that. But even if, I think then we can put that into two things. Finances, I think then that's a different case altogether. Because while the business is me, or I'm the business, I need to find a way to separate my personal finances with the business finances. And I think that's where a lot of Malawians or entrepreneurs who are young, we get caught up with that, because you end up making your business account your personal account. So what happens is any money that goes in there, be it 2 million kwacha. The difference is it's not 2 million kwacha that's going in. It's 2 million kwacha minus the cost of 2 million kwacha. So maybe it was 1.8 million. So basically you made 200,000. But because you treat the account as it's yours, you look at 2 million kwacha, and then you go to Vision at one day and then you say, I have 2 million kwacha in my account. You swipe the money away, and in the end you're losing money. So I think with that one, it's very imperative to separate. Even though you can say the business is you need to be able to separate and say, I'll give myself a salary for this month. Or, like, I'll give Taz an example. We've talked about this before, because you end up having to sacrifice a lot of your money, making sure that everyone who's, for example, working for you or your stakeholders, everyone is happy. You paid everybody, you've paid your bills, you paid X, Y, Z, and then you're left with usually nothing. And you have to go on with that, because that's how it goes. In business, that's how it goes. But I feel like we need to make sure that as much as we can say business is us, we need to separate the finances. So it's very tricky, but the good thing about being in a relationship with somebody who's also doing business is that they understand certain things. So if I say, I work 6 days a week, on Saturday, like today, I literally finished work and then I showered and came here. So if she wanted to do some lovey-dovey stuff, having lunch, she knows that it's impossible on Saturday, but she understands. And I know that she's also very busy. At times I'd say, hey, I need us to go to this place, or she'll go, and she'll say, I'm sorry, I'm busy. She was actually supposed to be here today with me, and she said, I can't come because I have some clients. So with that one, it's more like, because we're both in the same boat in terms of business, we understand why certain things are happening. Because this thing you had said about saying no, being able to say no to your partner, is that somebody might not be able to understand why you're doing something. Because if I say to somebody, hey, I'm sorry, I have money, but I don't have money, they'll say, what do you mean? I've seen your account, you have 2 million bucks. I know, but that money is not money I can spend. And they won't believe, they'll say, Trevor Kano is a stingy man. I'll find myself on Pembero's page at some point. He's a stingy man. Whatever it is. But they won't understand that I have bills to pay, I have MRA on my case, I've ordered some stuff I need to save for duty. Those are things that somebody who is a partner, who you talk to and you understand these things, can be able to say, okay, I can augment it. I know that you're doing X, Y, Z. I know why you're doing this. I know why you need to save here. I know why you're not going to be able to go on vacation this month. So in terms of that, they have obviously many, many years together. They've gone to know each other very well. I think I'm also building on that. And I think for those of you, a lot of you I guess, who are single, when you find the person who you think you're going to be able to grow with, you need to explain to them from the beginning that I'm sorry, but this is how it goes. Business is my life. And you're going to be in that life, but also you need to understand that there are moments where business is going to have to take priority. And I need you to understand that it's because I want us to both be successful. Because if I'm successful, you're going to be successful. And I think both of them can, balance that out. So that balance is very important when someone else who you're with understands that you need to do X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z. So I think, yeah, that's about it.
Trevor said something that's very important. The business money is not money for your dates. It's not for flowers, it's not for chocolates, it's not for birthdays. It's for business. So, I'm sure the men are gonna get away. They have an excuse. Sorry, babe. I don't have personal money, it's business money. But also, I think one of the things that he also said that's very important is the fact that you need to be with someone in the relationship that understands where you're going and that the both of you should be going in the same direction. I think for some of us, I'm bad with money. So when you spoke about somebody who separates their business money and their personal money, I was just like, oh dear God. That is me right there. My business money is my couple money and mine. So I've also learned a thing or two. Now, I think just to shed more light, I think on the very same issue that Trevor was alluding to, how have you guys been able to do it? How have you been able to separate Mr. and Mrs. Jagala from Zigo and Gawaida of Tantre Farms? Because they do not know.
We have been able to, I think it's being deliberate. You have to know, I have to be a wife. So my wife duties are different from my business duties, much as they build on each other. I also have to be the mother. I have 4 kids, by the way. 2 girls and 2 boys. So I have to create time for them as well. And then so I do worship. But at the end of the day, the foundation is the same. Your relationship. I wanted to build on what he was saying. I married my friend. So when you marry your friend, they will know you. They are ready to step in on your weaknesses, and then they appreciate your strengths. And then being able to communicate. When I want time, like here, when the apostle came, because sometimes we are very busy, he's working with MSH, he's also a very busy man. But what I did when the apostle came, I sent him. He said, I'm going to be doing this. Even with the first call, I told him, in brief, I just, entire foundation wants me to work with them on this. He said, okay, that's interesting. Then when the poster came, I put it forward. So today, it wasn't difficult because he already knows. So, but sometimes the problem that I've observed with couples is we want to be very independent. Yet you are committed to someone. You can't be. There are 2 different things. You can't be committed and independent, as in, I can go where I want. Yes, I can. I'm here because I want to be here, but I've also made him know that I'm here. That's being responsible. So much as he gives me the space to be independent, I'm also respecting his role in my life. So, and then Zico is my husband. When he's my husband, I deal with him as such. And there are issues that, like we made a decision that we don't fight in front of people. And it doesn't mean that we don't fight. If you come and talk to my workers to say, have you ever, because for us it's a mixed setup. Our home is on the farm. So our workers come to our home to work. So much as we work together, they've never seen us fight. So when he's talking to my workers, to our workers, which are mostly supervised by me, he would speak in respect of my role as the director. I was telling her that sometimes, workers will try to, so we had to discuss behind the scenes and say, have you noted the tendencies to disregard commands of a woman in the business and look forward to the man's voice? So he said, yes, I've noted. I'm going to deal with it. So this is now the husband and the business partner. We talked as a husband and wife, and then as a business partner. And then when we came to the meeting room, he told them, here, the one in charge is my wife, if you mess up, if she fires you, don't turn back to me. If she fires you, you're fired. Because I go to work, she's the one who manages. So those are some of the dynamics we have to deal with as a husband and wife in the business. Because people are still going to think that wife roles should be exercised in the business. Because it's like, you're a woman, you shouldn't be that powerful. But then, I'm the managing director who runs the day-to-day. He can come in, but then they have to take instructions from me, the day-to-day, and execute. Yes, so I would share that. But most importantly, I wanted to emphasize for the young people, marry your friend, because we're able to do all these things because we are face-to friends. Even, I remember these are small things, some signs that you can see that someone is into you. He would buy CDs in college, we met at Chancellor College, and he would always write Ngawa and Ziko. He didn't write Ziko and Ngawa. For me, that meant a lot, and that was a big signal. I saw someone who is ready to partner with me. And then for the men, if your wife doesn't feel secure, you're in trouble. Because I'm able to put in all my skills in the business because I feel secure, because of how he's handling things. But most of our culture is it's those silent things. I'm a social scientist in sociology, so I like to analyze these salient things. So you say you're business partners, but when you look at your business certificate, it's only your name. And you say, already you're carrying my name, so no, it doesn't work like that. Let's put it on paper. It shouldn't just be by word. So sometimes when the women are having cold feet, I understand them. Because I also chat with women, a lot of women, and I've seen some that are saying they are running business in partnership, but it's not a partnership. So let's be unselfish. If you've loved someone so much to marry them completely. Don't half doesn't work. Thank you.
Wow. She said it's in the silent and the little things. She remembers how he would put her name first and his last. So she knew that he would be able to stand her in authority. That's very important. I think as a lot of young people, when we're in relationships, love and emotions make you stop seeing things logically. And at times you see red flags and you don't notice them. And I think for you, that's just what you're trying to tell us, to say, even in the relationship, notice the small things that will be able to show you, business. If he's always lying about money, business. How am I supposed to trust him that we really made 2 million kwacha? If he can lie about 500 kwacha or 5,000 kwacha, and will this person be able to respect my business acumen? You said something that's very powerful when you said, we do not fight in front of the people that work for us, but it does not mean we do not fight. Because at times with partners, especially people that we work with, there's that need to show who is wearing the boots, who wears the pants in the relationship. So there's the, am I Musama Vele? And I love the fact that you said your wifery roles are your wifery roles, they're not your business roles. Much as they are at times add to your business roles, because now you're also able to understand where he's coming from because you've been with him for a while. And also, Trevor, that's something that you had also said earlier on when you spoke about how the two of you understand one another. And you said, for example, today, because you run a business, so it's important for her to be with her clientele. So something as her not showing up today, much as it was important for you, but you also know that what she's doing is important for her business, which at the end is also going to be profitable and important for you. And then you spoke a little bit about not being selfish in the relationship. To say you need to allow your partner room to flourish. And I love how you spoke about security. To say, I think when you make a partner secure, it is now easier for you to run a business together. How am I going to run a business if I'm suspecting the money we're going to make is going to somebody else? Food for thought. Gents, I hope you're taking notes. But also ladies, make your men secure. Because at times, let's just not talk about we're living in a different world now. At times, even the women don't make the men secure. So he's also thinking, what if I put in all this effort and we run this big business and she just uses this money on petty things? That's where we need to have that conversation. And so for me, I think I'll ask you, Gal, do you think it's been worth it running this business alongside Zibo?
I'll do it again.
Oh, wow. I think that deserves a round of applause, guys. And some of us are in a relationship, so we can choose the person that
Okay, I think this is one of companies we also have done. I stopped working in 2015. So I'm qualified, I was a CEO at a certain organization, but then the issue of understanding who is good at what. I used to work with him when I was working in another organization. So we had a conversation. It needs a full-time director who is going to be running this. But then we said, okay, what does it need? So he says it needs someone who can profile it and position it in a way that it grows. So between the two of us, we agreed that I'm better placed to do that. But as we are doing that, we also said we're going to grow it in the business model is going to allow that each one of us will have a job or a role. So at where we are now, I've managed to do that, of course with his support, because he's always in the background. So I'll be in a meeting and they tell me, send us a budget, and it's just a phone call away. I just say, I went to this meeting and this is the agreement, they want a budget. By evening, he will give me a draft, and then I'll just do the narrative. Then we submit. So that's how we work. But then I wanted to emphasize on this aspect where we managed to agree that I go in. And we've had situations where I actually feel like the men are saying, please tell your wife to sit down. You understand? There's this tendency to say she can't be the one to be the representative. Who is the husband? Because I have sometimes I can push. So it's like they don't expect me to behave like that, but he understands. He comes laughing, he says, no, she was just doing her business. As a managing director, she had to do that. So you have to know each other well, such that you don't get threatened. But then, it gave me a responsibility to build the business in such a way that it creates room for him. In the next year or two, he should be able to come in and run. He wants to run the greenhouse manufacturing, which is very technical. For me, it's not an interesting part. The interesting part is the incubation and food processing. So I should have been selfish and just focused on what I love. But I always have to remember as well that the space that is given me, I also have to appreciate and thank him along. So sometimes those are some of the dynamics we have to work with.
Creating room for your partner, even in areas where you're not as excited about, as technical about. I think that's one of the lessons I'm living with, because I had spoken earlier in the personal experience to say I am into fashion, I'm into all things fashion, styling and events. My partner is more into vehicles and seed and all those things. But I'm the one who talks a lot, so I obviously, when it comes to running our business, I have to be the face and the voice of the business. But I think a personal reflection for myself is I have been selfish in a way of trying to bring in this person into the business area that I am interested in. And I know my partner might not have the expertise that I have. That way I have more power and I'll keep being the one who's running the show. But being able to trust your partner to say, no, I know this is something that you also want to do. Let's create room for you two to flourish. because this is a relationship. So as we're running this business, as the business is growing, both of you should grow together, which is, I think, what you're saying. To say you left your job, but you've also made it a point to say in the next year or two, he should also be able to come in full force. Trevor, looking at the future, the wedding bells are ringing, the dress has been bought. If you need a planner right here, we are here at Bants2Business. I'm networking. Sorry if you are not networking. But event planner, stylist, yeah. No? So we'll talk afterwards. Do you think, are you excited of this future where the two of you are going to run whatever business you're going to call it together?
Yeah, I'm very excited. Like I said, we're people who understand each other in terms of business. So I think we had actually had a discussion about it to say, okay, we're obviously going into this. So we discussed, I think, 3 main areas. The first thing that we had discussed, and I guess I'll just break them down in terms of like a general thing so that anyone can say, they can put it in their perspective. We can look at, when you're trying to look at getting into business with somebody you're seeing, I think we can look at how deep is the relationship. Why I'd say that is, if I got into a relationship today, 2 months from now, you won't find me saying, hey, let's invest 10 million budget together. We don't know each other that well yet to say, let's put our finances together. But at this moment in time where I am, for example, about to get married, it makes a lot of sense for us to sit down and say, what are we going to do in the future to shape the future for our kids, our relatives, whoever it is that we affect in our life. And because we're so sure in ourselves, we should say, okay, now we can put our finances together because we're very open about that. But if you're in a space where you don't know who you're seeing yet, because 2 months is a very short time. If you look at it objectively, 2 months is a very short time. So we looked at that and we said, okay, where we are now, we're able to discuss those things and say, okay, in the future we're going to do X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z. So we've already laid the groundwork for that, and we're working towards building something. Eventually, I think we'll unveil it to you guys, but that's one of the things we had talked about. The second thing was basically maturity. I know he had spoken about how if you argue in a relationship, are you saying that you argued in their business? So, for example, if your partner is giving you silent treatment for whatever reason, but now you send an email that needs to be replied to, it's urgent, and then they take that opportunity to not reply because they say, I'm not talking to this person. You're losing in the business because personal matters are being taken into the business. So you need to know your partner and say, can this person be able to separate these two things? Because if you know they're not going to be able to separate, you just have to talk to them about it. If you guys see that it won't be able to happen, it's better to not get into business together, because in the end, you end up resenting each other and blaming each other for the business failing. Because they'll say, it's because of you, no, it's because of you, you're hard to work with, whatever it is. So the honest conversation is supposed to be had on people's maturity levels when you're going into a business together, and see whether or not it can be compatible. The third thing I would say is to do with strengths and weaknesses. I think she had explained how their dynamic works, which is very, very fine, and I understand that's supposed to be done, because you can't both be outgoing people and say we're going to do a business together openly, without blame, without anything, but just having an honest discussion and say, are we able to do this? Are we going to be able to do this? If you're not, it's also fine. And you don't always say you have to get into a business together with your partner because you're your partner. No. You can see if it'll work, it'll work. If it won't, it won't. In that case, what you do is, as long as they're able to know what you're doing. For example, she said she had told her husband that she's coming here even though they work together. So even in a situation where you guys don't work together, somebody would have had to say, oh, I'm going XYZ, XYZ. I'm going to meet people of the other gender. This. Maybe some people can be jealous. They should know about these things. So I think when it comes to getting into business, it's all about communication, being open about your strengths and weaknesses, and being very mature, because money is not a small issue. Doing business together, the aim is to make money. Money is very, very important. Even in life, money is very important. So I think those goals need to be aligned. So we make money today, we not funa time where every day baby. We not funa you know. needs to be good. We're building 5 years from now, we're gonna do X, Y, Z. We're gonna say from now to X, Y. That's how it's supposed to go. So I think with those things, when you discuss with your person, if you know them that well enough to want to start a business, it should be very easy to build from there. Yes, thank you very much.
I love that you spoke about conversations, honest conversations, which are at the heart of Bants2Business. So what you were just trying to say is, even in the relationship, let's have Bants2Business. Hey guys, that was supposed to be like a, can I get it right? Can I just get a clap, please? I'm trying so hard to, very, very hard. Okay, now, what we'd like to do is, these are Bants2Business, and these are conversations, Do you have any questions that you'd like, to ask these two guys that are here? Don't ask me questions. I am also here learning. Yeah, you already heard my business. About my business, I'm not the best person. But here are two models, and I think one of the mistakes that we make as young people is not being able to learn from those that have gone ahead of you, from those that have paved the way for you. And here are two people who've given us their time and their resources to pay. Time is money. So they've given us their money. They could have been fixing tires, building a greenhouse somewhere, but they are here. So we'd like to give you that opportunity if you've got any questions that you'd like to ask based on some of the things that they spoke, or you just have a personal question in relation to business and relationships and love in business that you'd like them to assist you with. The floor is open. Yes, PJ. That's the energy we need.
Thanks. It's been a very interesting discussion. So to everyone involved, I have two questions. The first one is about both of you. It's like you're doing both love and relationships. I think Madame, as your husband called you one time, you're looking at social science, computer science, being parents, and managing a business together. Where do you find time to rest? Just for the two of you as a couple, and even for yourselves as individuals. Like, how do you manage stress and mental health and just making all of it work? Because I think it's not just about doing a whole bunch of things, but doing them well. Yeah. So how do you manage to do everything well and then also rest? That's my first question. Secondly, Trevor, something you said was about how business requires your all, your everything, your commitment, and education also requires that. So making it seem like the two of them are a little bit at odds. And I do understand that. I think that here in Malawi, our education system doesn't really work for business. It doesn't really create people who can do businesses successfully. You have to think outside of that. So from your perspective, how do you think our education system, our setup, needs to change so that they're not always fighting with each other, but they're working together to create something amazing? So, yeah, those are my two questions. Thanks.
Chris, you have a question? Maybe we can take 3 questions, then they respond, then we take 2 more.
I think he's got my question across, because I feel like being in a relationship, at least for me, and having space for myself, I need to be my own human, even though I'm also very committed and all that. So I'm like, how do you manage to also find time to just relax? And because I also like really, I'm a perfectionist, so I think that also consumes a lot my time in terms of how I do things. So I do just like, how do you balance that? Because it's very, and then having kids, I'm single, like right now I'm in a relationship, but I don't have kids and all that. So I'm just thinking, if I had kids, how would I cope with all that? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it gets busy, and but then what we've done is we have some strategies. Some of the strategies is that like tagging along. Like this morning, when we were going to the greenhouse, we took the kids. And so as you are driving, you're basically talking and hearing their stories. And we also sometimes just plan vacation, just leave the place and go. And now we are also planning to build a house, move our home to the corner of the farm because it's getting busy. So we're not completely like swallowed with the farm. We always try to get our head up and say we also are individuals. But what is also exciting is that we love what we do. So it's actually for us to choose agribusiness, we had to discuss and say, I think, because I'm not a farm, by training I'm not an agriculturist, he's not, but how we found ourselves there, it was because that's what we love. So we're always trying also, if you do something you love, at least there's that consolation, much as it can be hard, but at least you love it. But if you're doing something that you're forcing yourself to do, it can be tough. But I think those are some of the basics. But also, like with the kids, how we've managed, because they've been watching us and we've always been encouraging them to be part of what we're doing. We find that my kids are quite involved, and even in managing the home, they cook. Even the young boys are also learning to cook because they see their dad cooking, they cook, and yeah. So my daughters cook. So sometimes it's those things that someone would think it's old school to involve kids into this taking tasks in, but I think it makes life easy. Because they also start to be empathetic. But sometimes the way we've raised our kids currently, they think things have to be done for them. So even though we have workers, we get them involved in doing basic household tasks, and that makes life easy. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, I've just written something so that I shouldn't forget. At what you had asked about how education can augment business or help business. I think the first thing that we have to look at, or the first thing that we have to address as a nation, is that we put a lot of emphasis on going to school and finding work. When you're growing up, your parents will tell you this: go to school, go to university, get a job. That's how it is. That's how, when you're growing up, most of us, when we were growing up, that's how we saw it. We didn't think in terms of business or an opportunity. We looked at it as, I need to grow up and find work. So now what happens is, when you grow up, you finish your school, got your degree, there's no job. What can you do now? A lot of people are lost in what to do. So what the education sector can do for us is have targeted courses or syllabuses that teach people that entrepreneurship is supposed to go like so. It starts with the mental change, or the mentality has to change from us going forward, right? Because our kids are going to be more entrepreneurs than this last generation, than the last before. So even the syllabus itself, the content has to be changed, because they teach us maths, but they don't teach us money management. Because you can have the skills as an accountant, but you don't know how to manage your money. You can know the money is gone, but you don't know how to manage that money. Those type of things are things that other countries, they have those things that augment general education. It augments all of that, and they say entrepreneurship is the way forward. And that's how our country actually pushes forward, because entrepreneurship is what can employ, can push the generation forward. And I'm not saying that everyone needs to be an entrepreneur, don't get me wrong. That's why I said entrepreneurship is your life, right? Other people want to work, that's how it goes. Other people want that security. But what happens is, most times, because we're pushed into doing school and thinking a job is the main thing, once you start your entrepreneurship journey, you have one foot out the door already. So what happens is, when it gets tough, the moment it gets tough, you say, hey, you're back into the job. So then that's why you find people who say, in entrepreneurship, it's not like you don't know it. Kumano, in your mind, it's, I'd rather have a job than be an entrepreneur. I'd rather push something for someone else than be an entrepreneur myself. Which also leads to people I digress, but generational wealth is also affected, because that's how people don't end up carrying their parents' businesses. Like, she has 4 kids. They wouldn't say that all of them need to be in the business, but at least they should have an interest to say, God forbid, anything happens to you guys, they should be able to carry on the business. But what happens is, a lot of parents will have the business, but then they'll say you need to go to school. So if something happens to them, those kids have no knowledge of what to do with the business. So it's a mindset thing. It starts with our parents, and then it also goes with the school and the syllabus that we use. It's backward. We need to make sure we revamp that. I think the education sector needs a huge revamp, but also we need to focus on making sure that if there are no jobs, we need to be able to give students or graduates another outlet to say, okay, you'll be able to do X, Y, or you can be able to do X, Y, Z in a time that you won't be able to do school. So with that one, I think, yeah, education can help with entrepreneurship, but it's very important to be educated while you're getting into business. You need to know certain things. You need to at least be educated to a certain level. That's very true. You apply certain things into the business, but also the syllabus or the mentality needs to be changed in order to have people have the opportunity to choose between school and entrepreneurship. But I personally think you can do one or the other. You can't really do both full time. I think that's why she ended up at some point saying, okay, I can either work or I need to be full time in the business. Because at some point you're going to have to choose between the two. If you're scaling your business, no matter what, there'll be a point where you have to say, okay, I think we're making enough money, and I think we have to divert a lot of time and resources to the main business, which is out from now on. So with that one, I say education can be the backbone for you to leap into entrepreneurship if that's what you need. So the education can give you the tools and the necessary knowledge, and you will take it from there. I think that's one thing I can say about education and entrepreneurship. Sure.
Wonderful. Ladies, does anyone of you have a question? Looks like the men have been dominating. Ladies, no questions? Oh, interesting. Yes, Miss Tana.
Alright, I have a question. When you are doing business with your partner, how do you deal with the gender dynamics? And this goes both to you guys, I guess, to Ngawa and to Trevor. Because in a family setting, normally people will say there is a head of the house. So for example, if you're doing business with your partner, are you equals? Is there a head of the business? How do you handle those dynamics? Yeah, I want to hear from both your ends. In your experiences, like, do you actually have to have a conversation around that? Because I think maybe some women might be scared to go into business with their partners because they're thinking, okay, so if the family dynamics are also going to apply in their business, and I'm always going to be the second person in the business. Yeah. So I want to know how you deal with the gender dynamics.
I'll start with enhance. Okay. Let's look at the layers of a business. This shareholding. As shareholding member, your equal partners is 50-50. Then there are directors. And the directors will have different titles. Like my husband is an operations director. And then responsible for what? That's the question. If you are operations director, what are you responsible for? So everyone sticks to what they are responsible to. At this point, I'm the managing director. We can also have a policy that says we can rotate. When do you rotate? So I think we are not open people. We like to assume, because in assumptions, some people take advantage, like taking power. But then there are also gender dynamics that will come from, it's not just your partner, because family also comes in. So it's a matter of how you two project yourselves to the family and how much space you give people outside you, the relationship between the two of you to detect. Because as a social scientist, I also know that people always want to have power over others. It's power over, power with, power without. So you have to move and manage all those dynamics. But how you manage those dynamics, people always take power that they are given. So if you give them power to come and start making opinions and influencing you two and separating you two, there was a time we had to make a very drastic decision of moving from Airtel to the women. My sisters were calling, tell us, what is it trying to do? The other side, they were like, hey, for my time we drove out to Mujam. Mubeseni, Kukomashikuduli. But because the two of us had a conversation and we knew what we were doing, we were never moved. We were just looking at them, we would laugh about those things in the evening and say, you were that was a child, Now they come and say, you guys, you saw where you're going. So those are the gender dynamics that will be there. But then, now, to your question, you're a business partner, but someone has cheated. My question is, you are a husband and wife, someone has cheated, what will you do? I don't know if it's, sometimes people feel like it's separating water and oil, but if you really deep, you'd know the difference. But also, by the time you're partnering with someone, you have done your analysis. How trustworthy and how. Now, the problem is that what I was saying, and no man would take a partnership, but the paperwork is different. So if your paperwork is not in the right place, you're in trouble. Because as my be, I'm a business in Davama, over Salim partnership. That's why I was talking about, let's break it down. Equity and verbal or emotional partnership, they are different. If you separate, there is a law that says how things go. If you want to separate, if you can separate as a family, but you can choose to run the business. God forbid. But if you choose to split the business, if you have things right on paper, there's a legal framework that can support you. So that's why I said, it's about and being sincere. Change is as much it is in mountain for having. I would say with you, someone said, even as my Sotuma Pangas. Yeah, it's true. I've seen women who say, his money, our money, my money, my money. That's a very bad spirit. Because what you're saying is, you want to use the other one, Garicas. You will, and this such, Uzauna Woody, Zimai Uchena, Zibambo. Kumanda put it out down, I'm not what in down. Because this money is doing everything, you know. And what I've observed, such people start to hook up. If anything, we must do Mama Link. Am I so said? But if you have one spirit, you go far. Thank you.
His money, our money. Her money, our money. Trevor.
Speak on that. I'll be very honest. I didn't catch your name, but with the second question, I really feel like she has answered everything. I think even I learned something from it. I think she's the one who's been in that situation. She knows those situations. She's experienced it for a number of years. Like I said, I honestly at the moment haven't started a full business with my partner, so I can't comment on something that I haven't done. It would just be hypothetical. With Nta's question, I think there's another thing that comes into play, which is pride. You know, people like having their name associated with their business. Trevor manager. You know, and I feel nice. I say, people think it's me. But if it comes to a moment where I'm doing business with my partner and I hear them say, business, you're manager, and I feel jealousy, and I think already something is horribly wrong. Because if it's a partnership, it's not about ownership. It's about results and what's happening. I personally don't feel any type of way about even my person fronting the business as hers. I'm a silent partner. To me, it doesn't mind. I don't mind about it because we can look at even the type of business that you're going into. Let's assume we're going into feminine products, right? For the ladies, I'll give you an example. Who would you rather see as the managing director, me or another woman? Because you know you're going to have to talk about certain things if it comes to feminine products. But if I'm battling to say, you need to let everyone know it's mine. Maybe even some women will be uncomfortable. At that point, I say, no, babe, don't worry. You can even tell everyone it's yours completely. The main thing is, on the paperwork, it's ours. If I'm a silent partner, I'm a silent partner. So I think it's just about discussing going forward, which industry you're in, everyone's roles. I think she actually really did explain everything that needs to be explained in terms of that. I think that's how it goes. And when it comes to pressure from other people saying that, why are you not the managing director because of this? It's really, truly none of their business. I think if you and your partner have talked about it, and you're fine with it, and she's fine with it, and you guys are fine with it, I think anyone asking, they're just trying to cause some divisions, because it really shouldn't matter. If you're married and you carry a business together, that's not about who owns it. It's different from when it's a random person, a partner, whatever it is, but you guys are married, you're doing business together. I really think it doesn't matter whose name is said first. You guys are both Mr. and Mrs. whoever, whether it's you hyphenate, whatever it is, but it's yours, it's fine. So in terms of that, I really think it really doesn't matter. You shouldn't have to explain yourselves to people why, for example, your husband is the one being mentioned. It is what it is, it can happen, but it's a matter of loving your person. If I feel like this would be good for us, if people think it's her business, it's her business. But to me, I'll continue doing whatever else I do. It really doesn't affect me in any type of way as long as the results are showing. So with that, it's easy to just tell whoever's asking that we've already discussed it, and that's how we wanted it to be. Kindly attack. What else can they say? Nothing. So with that one, it's just about taking the same stance with everyone. You have an agreement from beforehand. When you put the word out, whatever the case you put out, you just stand behind each other, and that's that. I think that's the main thing. Yeah.
I think today's session was very deep. You know, when I read the title, for me, I thought it was just going to be like one of those things. Hey, we're just going to sit around, share terrible experiences of how we've done business with our partners, so that you at least don't feel as bad. Maybe there's somebody who got a worse deal than you. But one thing that I've seen is this has been very enlightening, and it has superseded even my personal expectations of what Bants2Business, of how this session was going to roll out. I think to wrap up everything, the key takeaway points from today's discussion: number one, the paperwork. Yes, you're in love with this person. Yes, you love them. Getting paperwork that reflects both of your names doesn't mean you love them less. Let us not be naive, young people. The paperwork is very important. Number two, let us have honest discussions. The fact that we're having an honest discussion doesn't mean I trust you less. It doesn't mean I'm being selfish, but we're just trying to make sure that we know who does what in pushing the business. And that honest conversation is going to lead to the success of the business. It is okay, lesson number three, it is also okay to let your partner shine. Let us be secure in these relationships. I love how they both say there are times when Zigo has to shine, and then there are times she shines. There are times Trevor is going to stand out, but there's also times you have to take a step backwards and let her shine. It is okay. It doesn't make you less a man. It doesn't make you less a partner or less woman. The other thing that is a key takeaway point is the fact that you're in a relationship with this person you're doing business with. Already you have a lot of tongues wagging. Do not let outside opinion affect your relationship and affect your business, because your business is also a relationship on its own. Another point that Trevor, I think that came from Trevor, and both of them says, do not allow what happens in your relationship to affect your business. If there's an email that needs to be responded to, yes, I'm not talking to you, but now you're not talking as Godfrey and whosoever, we're talking as business. Respond to that email. Yes, they are calling you and you don't want to talk to them. Respond, because you never know. It might be a business call. Maybe they just don't want to apologize. They're calling for business. And then the other thing that came is know your partner. I think that was like something that kept on coming through and through. Say, be with somebody who's your friend, someone you can depend on, someone you can rely on, someone you can trust, because then you're able to trust them with your resources. And finally, business is about making money. Your business money is not your personal money. It is not the money to use to be cute with. And he said something, he said, there are times when you want to go do cute couple things, but you also have to understand our business needs us. Yes, I'll give an example. Not that you guys should get away with it, but I'm going to use it in my case. Yes, Valentine's is coming, I'll be at work, I'm sorry. I've got strict deadlines. Donors are waiting for me. I don't have 2 hours for lunch. Maybe we can do it on the 20th. Jokes, you're supposed to laugh, guys. You're supposed to laugh. I'm trying really hard to be funny right here. This is Bants2Business, ladies and gentlemen. The Love Edition, Love in Business, the February edition, our 4th